Okay, my phone says 9 o'clock, but let's just wait another minute or so. We do have a quorum at least, and I expect that we'll get a couple more people joining. Okay, good morning, everybody. Happy 2021. Hope everybody had a nice new year. And I'm sure, like everybody else, all of us are hoping 2021's got to be a great year, and will bring a lot of new opportunities, and we can out with the old and in with the new. So let's go ahead and get started this morning. I just want to remind everybody again, when Gina or Easter are doing roll call, please give your full name. Same thing when you're asking questions or making any comments, and then the regular routine, please mute your phones when you're not speaking to try to minimize any disruption. And then again, I also want to encourage those of you that have video to turn on your videos and make it look more of, kind of see everybody's faces in early 2021. And I'm definitely looking forward to the day when we can have in-person meetings again. So let's hope that we can do that in 2021, right? Okay, first item on the agenda is to do meeting roll call. So if, I don't know if Gina, are you gonna do the roll call for me, please?
It's Easter, I'll be taking that on. So we have City of Cotati, City of Petaluma,
Kent Carruthers, City of Petaluma,
City of Rohnert Park, City of Santa Rosa,
Jennifer Burke, Santa Rosa Water,
City of Sonoma,
Colleen Ferguson, City of Sonoma,
North Bend Water District,
Drew McIntyre,
Town of Windsor,
Christina Goulart,
Valley of the Moon Water District,
I have Matt.
Marin Municipal Water District,
Paul Sellier, Marin Municipal.
in just one moment, I will give staff and public attendees as well.
Easter, I do believe Craig Scott just joined from Rohnert Park.
Craig Scott, City of Cotati. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you. We have Grant Davis.
Here.
Don Seymour. Pam Jean, Paul Piazza.
Morning.
Barry Dugan, Bob Anderson, Brad Sherwood, Brian Kilkenny, Claire Nordley, Colin Close, David Keller, Elizabeth Cargay, Margaret DeGenova, Michael Thompson with Sonoma County Water Agency, Peter Martin, Sandy Potter, and Tony Williams with North Marin Water District. In just one moment, please. Who? And we also just had Mary Grace Pawson join as well.
Okay, thanks, Easter. So we have 100% participation of the TAC members again, and we got close to, actually we got 30 total participants, so that's great. It's a great start. Welcome again to everybody. We're gonna be following the agenda that everybody should have. Item number 2 is public comment. We're now taking public comments on non-agenda items. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. And if you're participating by phone, you can hit *9 to indicate that you have a question or a comment. So we'll pause for any questions and comments during open time. And then Gina, are you the one tracking this?
I'm going to run the one voicemail that we received for this item.
Okay, thank you.
Drew, would you like us to play the public comment now?
Yes, please. Gina, do you want me to try it?
For a second, I'm going to open the audio file.
Just so the group knows, while Gina's working on that, we received 2 comments from Dwayne DeWitt that came in over the weekend on my phone. One is on just open time, agenda item 2, and the other one is related to item number 5 on the 2020 water production. And Gina, I can try to play it from my computer if you think that might be easier.
She said, just one more moment, please.
Okay.
This is a message for the Technical Advisory Committee meeting on Monday, January 4th. My name is Dwayne DeWitt. It's for public comment, item 2. And I'd like to move forward with the idea that we're already in a drought. We've had less rain this year than we might expect, and we're back to our cycle of the 4 seasons of California: drought, earthquakes, fires, and floods. So now that we're back in drought, I'm hoping that you folks on this Technical Advisory Committee will begin to look at stormwater retention possibilities in riparian corridors in the area where I live of Roseland, we have the Roseland Creek corridor that empties out into the Laguna de Santa Rosa, which empties out into the Russian River. Stormwater retention techniques could be utilized all along the Roseland Creek corridor, starting up in Santa Rosa near the downtown area. The downtown specific plan actually of Santa Rosa takes into account an area just across the street from where Roseland Creek is south of its boundaries on Sebastopol Road. Stormwater could be directed into that Roseland Creek corridor. Stormwater retention basins could be implemented, and stormwater could be helpful to recharging our aquifer in the southwest area. It hasn't been talked much about by the elected officials in Santa Rosa. Their interests usually lie with development, and they always see how can they get projects in that cover up the aquifer recharge area. The process is, it's a sad state of affairs that you.
Okay, thank you, Gina. Appreciate you getting that up and running for us. So that was the only public comment that we had on non-agenda items. I do want to just comment, and I don't believe Mr. DeWitt is on the Zoom meeting this morning, but you know, the agency is moving forward with a regional water supply resiliency study that's funded by the contractors, and there will be more updates on that at future meetings, and stormwater capture and potentially retention is one of those items on that study. So let's keep moving on then. Agenda item 3 is a recap of the December 7th, 2020 TAC meeting minutes and approval of the minutes. So we're now taking public comments on this item. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand, or if you're dialing via telephone, hit *9. Gina, you see any indication of any questions from the public?
I don't see any hands raised.
And I did not receive any email or voicemail on this item as well. So I'm looking for a motion and a second from the TAC if there are no other questions.
This is Jennifer Burke with Santa Rosa. I'll move the approval of the minutes.
This is Craig Scott, City of Cataria. I will second that.
Okay, thanks, Jennifer and Craig. It's been motion and second to approve the meeting minutes with no changes. Easter, could you do a roll call for me, please?
City of Cotati,
Yes.
City of Petaluma, City of Bernard Park,
Aye.
City of Santa Rosa,
Jennifer Burke, aye.
City of Sonoma,
Aye.
North Burn Water District,
Drew McIntyre, yes.
Town of Windsor,
Christina Goulart, aye.
Valley of the Moon Water District,
Matt
All right.
Holner.
That is agenda item number 3, unanimously approved.
Thank you, Easter. Moving on to agenda item number 4, TAC Finance Subcommittee update. I just want to briefly let folks know some of the upcoming dates related to the review of the Sonoma County Water Agency's FY22 water transmission system budget. According to Lynn Roselli, we should receive a draft budget. And again, that's going to the TAC Finance Subcommittee by January 15th. The subcommittee, which consists of Kimberly Zunino, who's the subcommittee chair, and thanks again, Kimberly, Also includes representatives from Windsor, Cotati, North Marin, and Marin Municipal. That subcommittee group will be meeting with SCWA staff, I believe on January 20th is the first meeting in the afternoon to start reviewing the budget. There will be an update by the subcommittee at the February 1 WAC-TAC meeting. And there'll be review and recommendations to approve the budget by the TAC at the TAC March 1st meeting. And then, as has typically been done in the past, Lynn Roselli is making herself available during the month of March for any of those water contractors that would like to have a presentation with their boards. So for the TAC members, please be sure to review your schedules in March and then start making outreach to Lynn Roselli on trying to finalize some the dates during that month. And then we have a special WAC meeting on April 6th to approve the water transmission system budget. And then the agency will put it on their agenda for approval before the end of April. So just kind of wanted to go over that timeline. Any questions from the TAC on this?
Hey, Drew, this is Colleen Ferguson with City of Sonoma.
Yes.
I have a comment. We had talked about having a Sonoma Valley representative on the finance subcommittee. I have not yet identified a name of someone from finance for City of Sonoma. If I can't find someone from finance to step forward, I would like to participate in those meetings to represent Sonoma Valley.
Great. Good to hear. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you.
Otherwise known as Fergie. Any other questions from the TAC on this item? Any questions from the public? Again, if you'd like to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand, or if you're participating by phone, hit *9.
Drew, I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay. Thank you, Gina. And I did not receive any earlier emails or voicemails on this item. So we'll move to agenda item number 5, which is our regular just review of water production relative to our 2013 benchmark. So there's an attachment there. And again, I'd just like to thank all the water contractors for getting this information timely into the agency, and especially like to thank Paul Piazza and his group for continuing to put this together. Shows here we're getting close to the end of the calendar year, so we've got 11 months worth of data here on year-to-date water usage, and it's down 9% versus what it was in 2013. And then there are 2 charts. The first chart just goes and shows the monthly variation, and that also includes the gallons per capita per day. And then the second chart just shows over time since the late 1990s, again, in orange, showing our combined gallons per capita per day water usage, and showing that that's significantly lower than it was over the last couple decades. So any questions from the TAC on this item? I don't see anything from the TAC, so I'll open this up for any comments from the public. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand or hit *9 on your phone.
Drew, I'm not seeing any raised hands.
Thank you, Gina. And let the meeting minutes reflect that there were no earlier comments that I received via email or voicemail on this agenda item. So we're going to move now to agenda item number 6, water supply conditions and temporary urgency change order And I believe this is going to be Don Seymour. Is that correct?
It was going to be, but he lost power at his house. So we just got a grant, and I just got texts from him letting us know that he's not going to be able to do this because he has no way of doing it. So I'm happy to provide an update. It won't be as detailed as what Don would have provided, but I'm happy to do it.
Thank you, Pam.
Okay. So as far as water supply conditions go, as of January 1st, we are now in a normal water supply condition, despite the fact that, yes, we are, in my opinion, in a drought. So our minimum stream flow requirements are higher than they were at the end of the month. And we are going to be working on a temporary urgency change petition to, well, we're already working on one to hopefully deal with that. So, but just back to the condition itself, as I said, because of the change in the water supply condition under our water rights permits and decision 1610, we did have to increase flows out of Lake Mendocino over the weekend. In order to meet those minimum stream flow requirements, we were kind of hoping that the rain we got late last week would help out with that, but it didn't really help a whole lot, just wasn't enough. So we did increase flows out of Lake Mendocino on Saturday, and the lake is currently at about 28,000 acre feet, which is pretty low, just making us pretty uncomfortable. So that's where we're at Lake Mendocino. Lake Sonoma is also, compared to the last few years, is fairly low. It's at 158,000 acre feet. We have not done anything in terms of changing flows out of Lake Sonoma. We did reduce the outflow a couple of weeks ago, but we're not changing anything there right at this moment. But as I said, our main concern right now is Lake Mendocino and storage levels at Lake Mendocino. And because we have a much higher stream flow requirement, that means that we're releasing more water than we would like to be out of Lake Mendocino. And hopefully this rain will help this week, but in any case, we're working on a temporary urgency change petition to file with the state. It's pretty unusual for us to file one in the wintertime. So we have talked to the resource agencies, to the regional water board, to the state board members or staff persons themselves. They are expecting us to file a petition. We were going to file it this week, but I think at this point we're looking at next week to file. And just sort of depending on what happens this week in terms of rainfall and whether or not we see any recovery at Lake Mendocino in terms of storage. So that's where we're at right now. The petition itself will look very similar to the one that we filed in now I've forgotten if it's 13 or 14 in the wintertime. It essentially shifts the way we look at what the minimum stream flow requirement away from Lake Pillsbury and the Eel River to Lake Mendocino and the Russian River. So it looks at storage in Lake Mendocino in order to set the minimum stream flow requirement. So if you do get, into say February or March and we get a decent amount of rainfall and Lake Mendocino starts to fill, it will sort of self-correct and put us back into a normal condition. So we kind of see it as sort of a self-correcting way of dealing with our concerns about storage in Lake Mendocino and stream flow requirements. So we've shared this information with the State Water Board. They have all of the information that we had used before in prior petitions. It's all new staff, so they're not familiar with what we filed many years ago now. But they have seen what we filed then at that time. I think it makes sense to them. And it certainly is a good thing from sort of a self-correcting standpoint. Since there is a lot of winter left and a lot of potential rainfall between now and say April. So We're hoping that it'll rain, but in case it doesn't, we'll get this petition in and hopefully have an order soon thereafter. I don't know how quickly they'll be able to turn it around, but hopefully by February at least. And I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Pam. Questions from the TAC on Pam's report? I don't see any questions. Just we do have a related item just that we'll be talking about on the just in terms of public outreach messaging that we'll get to after we finish this agenda item. Seeing nothing from the TAC, I'd like to go ahead and open this up to public comment. Again, this is on agenda item number 6, water supply conditions and temporary urgency change order. If you're participating via Zoom, please raise your hand, or if you're participating via phone, you can hit *9. I don't see. Hey, Gina, any indication from the public on this?
I don't, Drew, but we just realized we missed the additional voicemail you sent over for 5A.
Okay, all right. Can we let's go ahead and go back to let's finish on agenda item number 6. So just let the record reflect there are no public comments received, and I did not receive any voicemails or emails earlier on agenda item 6. And let's go back and my mistake on that. Let's play the one public comment that we received on agenda item number 5. And that's related to the 2020 water production. And this is the same individual that made the comment on agenda item number 2, Dwayne DeWitt.
Advisory Committee meeting Monday, January 4th, 2021. Comment on item 5, Sonoma Marin Saving Water Partnership. The title for this item A, 2020 water production relative to 2013 benchmark, is a curious topic. Here at the City Hall in Santa Rosa, where I see this announcement, there's no information to reference on what's going to occur with this. But because I'm here on the first weekend of the new year and it's sunny, it makes me think that in this drought, there needs to be a public outreach again that works with the residents of both Sonoma and Marin County to do water saving and to do innovative approaches such as rainwater barrels where people save their rainwater catchment systems, stormwater retention basins, things where the public can become involved. I'm looking out across at landscaping at Santa Rosa City Hall, where millions of dollars were spent to tear things out to put it in with a new landscaping approach towards water saving techniques. It shouldn't be just the government that's doing this with our taxpayers' money. There should be an approach in which we also show taxpayers how they can save money by participating in water saving techniques. I'm confused at times by the whole way this technical advisory committee operates. It's almost in secret.
Thank you, Gina. So Mr. DeWitt's comments did cut off there at the end. So that was the only public comment that I had received on agenda item number 5. That ends up actually being a good segue. We're now moving to agenda item number 7, which is water supply conditions, public outreach messaging for this year. So Paul, you want to take this on, please?
Thank you, Drew. Good morning, everybody. Paul Piazza with Sonoma Water. We convened a meeting of the Water Conservation Subcommittee on Monday, December 28th to take up the discussion of a wintertime water conservation campaign due to current low rainfall and reservoir levels. And consensus was reached by the committee to move forward with a social media campaign as the initial approach for addressing the current conditions. We'll be boosting that social media campaign with some dollars to make sure it's appearing regularly up at the upper portion of people's social media feeds. Sonoma Water staff's working to finalize this series of social media posts based on input received by the partners. They'll be ready for distribution on a SharePoint or Dropbox site this week. We're also putting together a PDF single page, like a more complete list of water saving tips that'll be under the same banner and look as the social media campaign. And that'll also be available for distribution to the partners for posting to websites initially, or potentially developing as a mailer. The direction we received at the subcommittee meeting was for the message for the social media campaign to be short and to the point and emphasize actions that customers can take to reduce water use. So the group agreed on a phrase, less rain means less water, as a consistent message header with a different action provided to save water for each message in the series, and linking to the partnership website for additional information, both in terms of water saving tips, but also information about the variety of programs available for people to participate in to be able to save water, whether through our rebate incentive programs or other information. The website landing page for the partnership's been updated to provide a consistent message with a link to be updated to the TUCP info once that's appropriate. In addition to the social media campaign, the partners agreed to amplify the social media message by continuing with already underway savings messages using a variety of techniques, AMI billing software, more traditional bill inserts, website posts, e-news blasts, local radio, and others. Sonoma Water will be working to issue a press release regarding both the social media campaign and the upcoming TUCP to bring greater awareness to the public. And in preparation for continued dry conditions and a potential escalation of our response actions, I asked that each of the partners provide me with just a simple summary of their currently adopted shortage plan stages to ensure that an initial savings target, if we want to move in that direction at a later date, would work for all if needed. So if you recall, in the past, we've often gone to a 15% voluntary reduction target as kind of a first step to increase public awareness of the need to save. We didn't, at the subcommittee meeting, discuss implementing that at this stage, but that we would reassess any needed next steps by February. And I know that there's been some discussion to look at putting together a flow chart that kind of helps us anticipate the timing of how we look at our conservation messaging during the winter months relative to the hydrologic conditions and all the variables that Sonoma Water is monitoring to assess whether additional actions are needed. So we'll be following up with the partners with that social media series within another day or two. And hopefully we'll get a little rainfall in the coming weeks and be able to reassess whether by February we're going to need to take additional action. So that's all I have to report from the meeting at this point. I'm happy to take questions.
Thanks, Paul. Questions from the TAC on Paul's report? I don't see any questions from the TAC. So I would like, Paul, I would like to thank you and the other agency staff for coordinating that meeting and the various water contractors, their subcommittee representatives, to start working on this, winter outreach campaign. And you hit some various key actions that are coming forward. And I guess over this next month, as these various things roll out, we'll be able to see those, and as well as what will be even as important is just kind of a check-in in the beginning of February, just in terms of how conditions how rainfall conditions have been so far in January. It's my understanding, again, Paul, you were saying that there will be a press release. It'll kind of be synced up when the temporary urgency change petition is filed. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And I haven't had a chance yet to talk with Brad Sherwood and Barry Dugan. They were out the last couple of weeks, but we'll be working together in the next week or so to put the talking points together for press release as we have more information to share. Whether we go out separately, providing a press release for just the social media campaign or the TUCP, I'd want to have a chance to talk with them first, but we'll definitely be getting something out.
Okay. I think all of the water contractors and obviously the agency will appreciate the importance of just having common messaging, as throughout our partnership area, so that there isn't any confusion and there's our customers are essentially kind of hearing similar messages throughout. So again, thanks for your efforts on this, Paul, and other agency staff. Let's go ahead and open this up for any comments from the public. If you're participating by Zoom, please raise your hand, or if you're on your phone, hit *9. We'll take a brief pause for Gina to report out if there's anybody.
I'm not seeing any raised hands, Drew.
Okay. Thanks, Gina. And let the meeting minutes reflect that I did not receive any earlier emails or voicemail messages on this topic, agenda item number 7. So we're moving around along through here. So we're at agenda item number 8, biological opinion status update. And Pam, I believe that's you again.
That's me. Yep. Hopefully everybody got the handout. It had some really nice photos in it. So it's a little bit longer than it typically is, but nonetheless. I'll just go through this briefly and then open it up in case anybody has any questions. Start off with the fish flow project. That's the fish flow habitat and water rights project, which we are working on a new draft EIR to be recirculated in 2021. And there's really no changes there. We do continue to work on that and try to get a new draft ready to go. So that's where we're at on that. On the Dry Creek Habitat Enhancement Project, I think a lot of the information in here is the same from last month. Construction out, actual physical construction out on the project was completed in November of last year, and Hanford completed the portions that they were supposed to complete that were part of phase 3. And the remaining parts of phase 3 will be the in-stream work that needs to be done by Hanford will be done between June 15th and October 15th of next year. They also, as was reported, I think last month, completed some maintenance work for us out there too during this last construction season. Our staff has been very busy out there conducting physical and biological surveys on the new sites that were constructed and maintained, and getting a feel for how they're functioning, as well as quantifying how much habitat is there so that we can demonstrate compliance with the biological opinion. Dry Creek, as I think everybody knows, is a pretty primary release site for hatchery fish coming out of Warm Springs Hatchery, including both coho and steelhead. So they do a lot of monitoring in Dry Creek. In the last few weeks and last month or so, they actually have observed juveniles, and during the fall, of course, it was more, in summer, it was more juveniles rearing in the features that were created or had been enhanced. And recently they've been seeing spawning activity in some of those habitat features also. So that's really great. As far as the work with the Corps goes, this is for phases 4 through 6 of the project. We are currently reviewing 99% design drawings and preparing big bid packages. Bid packages are, they're hoping to bid a project and get out there and do some construction next summer, with the option of doing some at the remaining sites in 21 and 22. So one of the best things I think that happened towards the end of last year was that we did execute the formal project partnership agreement with the Corps of Engineers. So this is an agreement that describes financial terms, roles, and responsibilities of the Corps portions of the projects, which are again phases 4 through 6. And the colonel down at the district signed the PPA on December 22nd. So it's now executed at this point, which is great. And that was a long time coming. As far as fish monitoring goes, they were able to complete almost all of the fish monitoring that's required in the biological opinion this last year. The only piece of the fish monitoring they were unable to complete due to safety issues with COVID was the beach seining down in the estuary that normally takes place. But everything else was done. There's a nice sort of list here of things that got done, including sampling in 66 tributaries, capturing over 82,000 individual fish, of which almost 70,000 were steelhead or salmon, and helping to tag 30,000 fish at the coho salmon at the hatchery up at Lake Sonoma. So, and again, they did witness Chinook and coho spawning in our newly created habitats or enhanced habitats on Dry Creek this year. And there's some photographs that you can take a look at, including a guy who is floating, doing a snorkel survey. Interesting photo. As far as the Russian River Estuary Management Project goes, we did breach the estuary physically went out and mechanically breached the estuary last week. I think it was on Wednesday they went out and did that, but the estuary closed again on Saturday. So at least as of, if I'm caught up on email, which I'm not sure I am, that was the last I heard, was the estuary was closed again on Saturday. So there's apparently some pretty high swells and a lot of action going on out in the ocean right now. So there's not, they're not sure that they'll be able to get back in if there's a needed breach within the next couple of weeks. So we'll just have to play that by ear. And as far as interim flow changes go, I think I already covered that. So I think we're good there unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Pam. As always, good overview of all the various activities. Questions from the TAC on Pam's report? Pam, I got a couple questions. Do you or Grant have any idea of what the target date is when the Corps is going to try to advertise the project for this summer on Dry Creek?
I'm hoping Grant does because I have no idea.
No, Drew, I don't. I can check in with Dave Manning and maybe get back to you on when that's targeted. I think we were all waiting on the signature, though. That was the key. So we know it will happen, but I don't know the target date.
Okay. And then in the staff with the Corps, I mean, they're going to be doing all of the bid phase work, et cetera, for this project, right? Because they're in the lead. And is that done by local office staff then out of San Francisco?
Yeah, quite a bit of it. I'm not sure if they're pulling in the Sacramento division folks, but that's the beauty of this. This is the federal side, the 3 miles it's on the core obligation, and we'll be providing coordination with them and the rights and easements and right of way. That was another huge one, the milestone that we crossed last year. So setting up pretty well.
Okay, great. And that I have to just comment on the fish monitoring. I mean, the numbers, when you see it here on print, I mean, that's pretty impressive. 66 tributaries and over 80,000 individual fish. I mean, this isn't something that gets done in a week or two, obviously. I mean, this is a full court press, and I particularly enjoyed the photo of the snorkeler there in Austin Creek, with the purple pizzazz outfit there. Yeah. Okay.
Drew, I think it does bear commenting, though, that with the fires last year, the number of tributaries and the damage that had been done as a result is really quite a concern. And so, ironically, Dry Creek became the main area for implanting fish coming out of the hatchery. And we're going to do a lot more monitoring to determine what the response actually is. It's an area of vulnerability, and we're putting a lot of resources into determining what the response is going to be, because you lose that many tributaries. A lot of the Environmental Resources Division has spent a good deal of time out there. So I see Dave Manning is on the call, and here's the up-to-date information. The Army Corps of Engineers hoping to award the contract in June or July. And yes, all local Corps staff do the construction, award, and advertising.
Okay, thank you, David. Thank you, Grant. Mentioning the fire impacts there, of the 66 tributaries, do you have any idea how many, percentage-wise, greater than 50% or?
Dave Manning or Greg Horton, anyone in environmental, be able to talk about percentages there? Dave, if you heard the last conversation and were able to respond, perhaps you have the ability to do that right now. If not, you could text me and I can answer that. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's some of the significant ones that are high up and got the severe burns. Dave, are you able to unmute and get on or not?
Yeah, I think I was able to unmute. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks.
So those 66 streams represent streams all throughout the watershed, not just the ones impacted by the fire. Of the ones impacted by the fire, a pretty high proportion, more than 50%, had some level of impact. I can pull out those figures in a few moments, and I can text Grant to get you the accurate number. But it's a pretty high proportion of the streams that are in the Dry Creek watershed and some of the sub-watersheds that are very important for the fish. So Mill Creek, Pena Creek, Felda Creek, those streams that are tributary to Dry Creek that are important for coho and steelhead were pretty heavily impacted, and they're being intensively monitored. So the monitoring of those fire impacts and the monitoring of all of the streams in the basin are sort of two efforts. We're focusing in intensely on some of those streams where fish are typically released for the coho program, those tributaries, but we're also continuing the work that looks at the watershed as a whole. So streams beyond Dry Creek, all up through the Alexander Valley, and the upper portion of the Russian River Basin as well.
Thanks, David. So in addition to monitoring those streams for impacts, would there actually be some sort of corrective action work done, or is it primarily a monitoring and tracking effort?
At this point, it's monitoring and tracking. The most important action that was taken was not releasing 25,000 fish that were destined for those impacted tributary streams as a precautionary measure to avoid potentially harming those fish, having their survival affected by the conditions this winter. Those fish were instead released into Dry Creek, into the habitat that we've been creating through the biological opinion. That's a very big deal. Before we started building those habitat features, the resource agencies were not inclined to let us release that many fish into Dry Creek. They happily accepted the opportunity for those fish to go to Dry Creek now. So the habitats played an important role as a refuge. But moving forward, I think we have to see what kinds of effects on the habitat might occur. It's very costly and difficult to apply erosion control measures across very large areas of watershed. So I think tracking the changes and making sure we target where we release those fish and where we might make improvements to habitat based on the results of the monitoring work is the direction in the future.
Okay, thank you, David. Questions from the TAC? Okay, not seeing any other questions. We'll move this for any questions, comments from the public on this. This is agenda item number 8, biological opinion status update. If you're participating via Zoom, please raise your hand or hit *9 if you're calling in by phone.
Drew, I don't see any hands raised for this item.
Thank you, Gina. And I did not receive any earlier emails or voicemails on this agenda item either. So we're going to move to agenda item number 9, Potter Valley Project Licensing Update. Pam, you're the star of the show here this morning.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm just sitting here just loving watching the rain fall outside. So anyways, it's actually quite loud at my house. So as far as Potter Valley Project work goes, we are currently sort of in a holding pattern right now. We submitted responses to comments that were made on the interim report that was submitted to FERC in September, and then the follow-up meeting that happened. So there were comments that were due by interested parties, and we responded to those comments in mid-December. So that document was filed with FERC, and the next step in the process is that FERC will be releasing, hopefully, a study plan determination in mid-January. So that study plan determination will really tell Sonoma Water and its partners what it is that we have to do to get through the study phase of the integrated licensing process. So right now, there's a little bit of work being, well, not a little bit, there's some work being done by the consultant teams that's sort of a little bit outside of the integrated licensing process. They're doing some work looking at sedimentation and sediment management and a few other things, using some grant money that was obtained from the state. But as far as the integrated licensing process, we're waiting. It's about 10 days. I think we have to wait now for the study plan determination to come out so that we can figure out exactly what we're going to do as partners in the coming year. When we look at the study process, we believe it's a 2-year process. So there will be some of the work done in 1 year and some work done in another year, and it won't all be done in 2021. So that's where we're at on that right now.
Thanks, Pam. Any questions from the TAC on Pam's report? I don't see anybody raising their hands, so let's move to public comments on agenda item number 9, Potter Valley Project Relicensing Update. If you're participating via Zoom, please raise your hand or hit *9 if you're on a phone.
Drew, I don't see any hands raised.
Thank you, Gina. Let the record reflect that I did not receive any earlier emails or voicemails on agenda item number 9. Agenda item number 10, which is Emergency Training Coordination Subcommittee Update. That was going to be handled by Stephen Hancock with the agency. He was not able to participate this morning, so we're going to carry this item over to the next regularly scheduled meeting. So that'll be February 1. So we'll add this to the February 1 WACTAC agenda. And then items for the next agenda, we'll have our regular reoccurring items, a couple other things that I particularly have noted. We'll have a discussion about new WAC member orientation and get some binders together for that. We'll also have the the fiscal year 2022 water transmission system budget update, just an oral report from our subcommittee. Are there any other special agenda items that folks want to have included?
Drew, this is Jennifer Burke from Santa Rosa. I'm assuming you're going to continue to have updates on the public outreach messaging related to water supply conditions?
Yes.
So if we could continue to have that at every meeting, I'd appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, Jennifer. Anything else from the TAC? Seeing none, then we'll open this up for any final public comment. If you're participating via Zoom, raise your hand or hit *9 via phone. And again, this is agenda items for the February 1 WACTAC meeting.
I don't see any hands raised, Drew.
Thank you, Gina. And there were no earlier emails or voicemails on this agenda item as well. So we're through the agenda. Thanks, everybody. Again, Happy New Year and have a good week. And Pam, it's really good to hear that this is a allowance out of rain outside your house. Let's hope that continues south here in Marin as well. So have a good week, everyone.
You too. Happy New Year.